Hello everyone, and welcome to the live stream of Seattle United versus Japan and Korea. The racing will start in about 4 minutes, as you can see in the clock. I will not be racing, but instead we have a number of Seattle's finest racers, Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3 racers that are going to be taking on the best from Korea and Japan. I'll put the roster back up here again. You can see that in the field tonight we've got Chris Twardzik, Kyle Peterek, Evan Blanshan, Joe Holmes, Cucco, aka the Boogeyman, Ben Peterson, Josh Sollitto, and Brian Baumhover. Baumhover. I'm going to mispronounce his name all night. My apologies. It's a tongue twister for me. Okay, racing gets underway in just over a minute. Looks like all of our riders are here, and all of the riders are in the all-black kit that you see with the Amgen Tour of California kit. So all of our Seattle riders should look pretty similar. There is a lead-in, 2K lead-in, and they'll be using that as a neutral. So essentially, they don't want anybody going over 3K per 3 kilometers per hour, or I'm sorry, 3 watts per kilogram, not 3 kilometers per hour. That would be pretty slow. I encourage everyone to put some comments in the YouTube live chat. That's the one I'm watching. I'm not watching any of the links on Twitter or Facebook. But if you have any comments and you put them in the YouTube live chat, I'll be able to see those. Liam's wishing Will good luck. And the racing's about to kick off here in just a moment. Now, because they have a lead-in, this won't be like a traditional Zwift race where everything is extremely hot right off the bat. Instead, they'll roll out at a reasonable pace. And looks like maybe they got somebody with some technical difficulties or somebody else streaming. So let me kick into the live feed here and perhaps watch some of our racers. Of course, they all move around. There we go. Let's get on Josh for a moment. Now we're watching Josh Sollitto here. Here's a couple of Josh's specs overall. Josh rides with us on Higgins Berman. which is the same team that Will and I are on. I've gotten to know Josh quite a bit over the last year or so. He moved here from the East Coast. We'll forgive him for that. Incredibly strong guy, incredibly strong. He's a Cat 3 right now, but he's destined to be a Cat 2, perhaps a Cat 1 real soon. His watts per kilogram, his power is off the charts for someone his size and weight and category for sure. So we're still in the lead in here. And the big yellow beam essentially is telling us who the leader is, and the leader is really just the organizer of the race. The yellow beam is essentially the beacon, and during the lead-in, people aren't supposed to go past that beacon. I wish most of the organized races would do this. The Zwift races typically start off incredibly hot. They go 7-8 watts per kilogram right off the gates, and then you settle into a pace well above threshold for a good minute or 2 minutes. And then you kind of just sit at your threshold for quite some time. So that's always kind of fun. If you look at the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see that everybody's pretty much staying at the 3 watts per kilogram or lower. There's a couple people going above, including somebody going 7 watts per kilogram. That's maybe not the idea. Now the leaderboard shows there's 38 racers, but again, bear in mind that there's actually only 37, maybe even 36 if there's another person broadcasting this. And that's because I am sitting my rear end on the couch, enjoying a cold beer and not racing. All right, and once that yellow beacon goes away, then the racing has started. So all of you Seattle riders out there, all of you Seattle people watching this, do me a favor and get the viewership up a little bit. We've only got a few people watching right now, and I know it's the start of the race, but do me a favor and share this video. If you've got Facebook or Twitter or any other social media platform, share this link to the video and tell people to watch. We're watching an international race here with the finest people that we have from Seattle, and the race is a go. We are off. Let's look at some of these guys doing 7 watts per kilogram. Now, a couple of the rules here. Everyone has to have a heart rate monitor. Everyone has to have a power meter or a controllable trainer. You can't race these races without them. You can, but you're going to get disqualified. And we all go by Zwift Power, the website that validates all of the races at the end. So if you don't have that power meter, if you don't have that heart rate monitor, the race doesn't count for you. You may be able to animate the race, be able to get things going, but unfortunately it just messes things up for everybody around you. So what you'll notice is that there are no Z-Power riders in here, at least none that I've seen so far. Z-Power is where you don't have a power meter or a controllable trainer, and the algorithm is pretty good at figuring out what your power is, but it's not perfect. And in fact, a lot of times it way overshoots. It undershoots too. This race is going off pretty hot so far. So right now we're watching Joe Holmes with Tête de la Course Racing. Joe is a level 1 category, or level 1 certified USAC coach. Also happens to be Will's coach, the Boogeyman. He also happens to be Chloe Dygert-Owen's coach, multi-time world champion and all-around badass. Logan Owen's coach, EF Education First, and I believe he either is Kiel Reinen's coach or has worked with Kiel Reinen in the past, certainly rides with him on a regular basis. Kiel's with Trek Segafredo. So Joe's got quite a few excellent racers under his belt, and those are just the pros or the world champions. He also works with some folks from Rally Cycling Team, for example. He works with other local racers as well. Rally has Heidi Franz. Heidi Franz works with Joe as a coach. And if you're not familiar with Heidi, she's quite a bit of a badass herself and has actually taken some stages in the Tour of the Gila. Thanks, Robert. That's correct. Octobahn is the course. Today's race, I believe, is about 47 kilometers. And it's relatively flat overall. There are a couple climbs, but nothing outrageous. But you can see Joe's already putting down some serious power on his race. Joe is insane. He's insane with power. He's a relatively small guy, actually a very small guy, but just absolutely dominates. Incredible power. So again, all of the riders here that we're cheering on from Seattle are all in that same kit. They're all in that black Tour of California kit. All right, let's get the focus on the boogeyman here. So it looks like there might already be a split, but I don't know that that's true. Boogeyman's putting out 6.5 watts per kilogram right now, 7.5. He's going to have to dig in pretty deep. Obviously, Boogeyman's a very lightweight rider. Boogeyman is Will, in case anybody's wondering. Here's Will's title card. He's got a bronze medal from the National Championship race, road race. Would have had a medal from the crit, too, if there wasn't a nasty wreck in his breakaway on the last lap halfway through. A couple other great things on his palmares as well. Very lightweight. He is 5'9". I just measured him again today. And 110 pounds is actually after he's had a really big burger. So probably closer to 108, 107 pounds on any normal day. So I see a little bit of a break going up the road there. I don't think they're too terribly worried about that break. One or two people up a hill. That's not going to be anything to be worried about. If they stay in the group here, everybody should be fine. See if I can get a pull-out shot. Yeah, so we've got a handful of folks up there, up the road. And 13% climb, that's nothing to sneeze at. Boogeyman's moving back a little bit right now, but he's holding a similar power with everybody else in the 6 to 7 watt per kilogram range. Joe's bridging up there into the front. All right, and unfortunately, I don't know which rider this is, so I'll have to try to figure that out from a process of elimination because their name only shows Apex. We've got 2 Apex riders, I believe. Actually, that may not be true. That might be Kyle. Let me put it on Kyle. Especially since I'm pretty sure that avatar actually kind of looks like him. Kyle's another very strong guy. I think that's kind of the running theme here is that all these guys are incredibly strong. Look at that gradient, 14%. Kyle is an excellent sprinter, and if you ever catch any of the... uh-oh, I wonder if there's a mechanical with Kyle. That's not good. That is not good. He is falling way back in the pack at 2 watts per kilogram, and he is off the back. I'm not sure if maybe there's a mechanical going on, but we've got a couple other guys off the back here too. We've got Josh off the back, Brian off the back. I'm pretty far off the back. All right, well, I wonder what's going on with these guys. Maybe they're trying to get back together to work together here. thinking that must be a mechanical. And I think my screen is now stuck watching him, so let's see if I can move my screen somewhere else. And unfortunately, my screen is stuck on that. I can only see these individuals. I can at least throw him a thumbs up real quick. And for some reason, that looks like he went into workout mode, which is not going to be helpful. Okay, so I'm going to have to pause the stream momentarily so I can get back to some of the other riders. Let me go back to me. No, okay, we're back on. Okay. All right. And I'm getting word from the boogeyman's uncle that Will should push his way up to that 5-man break. And that may be the case, but I can tell you that they are working out strategy. They're all on a Discord channel, and they're working out strategy right now. So there might be some logic here as to what's going on. I can see Joe is seriously chasing down some folks here. Let me pull that off of Kyle's. Let's go back to Joe here. All right, so it looks like there's a 1-man break up the road, 4 seconds up. Then there's 2 here. They might be able to close that 1-man break down. I'm guessing it. They're actually already closing it down a bit. We've got it down to 3 seconds. And they're putting out some serious power here. Let's check on some of our other teammates back in the back here. Boogeyman's still holding really strong. Evan Blanshan's still up there nice and strong. Let's take a look at Evan. In addition to being an incredibly strong cyclist, Evan rides for Team Audi. And I rode quite a bit with Evan last year, particularly on Pacific Raceways events where we had every Tuesday night. We had a USAC sanctioned race. Got to work alongside Evan quite a bit, as well as many of his teammates, and he's just one of the nicest guys in the peloton. Incredibly strong, but would just absolutely work tirelessly for his teammates, and that's always respectable. Let's move back a little bit here, see who else we've got in the team. Still got Josh back here. He's not too far back. Might be able to get him back up. Let's take a look at Josh's Palmaris again. And a little bit further up the road, there's Brian. Also on Audi. All right, so even these guys that are gapped, they're still working their rear ends off to get back up there. They're on a really brutal climb right now. But what a lot of times will happen is as the climb finishes up, some of these packs that have splintered to pieces, once they start heading back on the downhill again, they can start to come back together a little bit. Let's pull out a little bit and see where these fields are. You can see up in this right-hand corner here that they're splintered up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 separate groups. So 37 people broken up into 9 groups. There's only about 4 people per group on average. So what that tells you is those four-person groups are going to start chasing each other back down once the race is done, once the race of the climb is done. And they're about, they're over 3/4 the way up this climb. Let's throw some thumbs up here and give these guys some encouragement. Yeah, Joe's just up there hammering it. That guy's a beast. And that gap, it says 5 seconds, and you know the system is never wrong. But as soon as they crest that hill, I know Joe's style. He's gonna roll the power. His 5.6 watts per kilogram going up this hill right now is nowhere near his threshold. So he's just gonna roll that power when he goes over the top. And he's gonna catch that leader, and that gap looks like it's opening up. The only reason that gap's opening up is because the leader's gone over the crest. These guys have not. So now there's 2 people chasing this guy downhill. Now, if R. Watanabe is any, if he's smart, he's going to let his guy go off the front. They're on the same team. Watanabe shouldn't be working with Joe to help him bring him back. And I think I see that. I think what he's doing is he's just sitting on Joe's wheel. You can see he's doing a lot less effort here just because of that drafting effect. Nope, now he's starting to pull around a little bit, so Watanabe's actually chasing down his own teammate. And that's the kind of disorganization we can kind of hope for here. These guys are going on the almost flat part of the section, 4% grade. Still putting out a lot of power, and really at this point, they are closing that gap. So it looks like a really wide gap here on the right, back to, let's look at Ben Peterson. Benjamin Peterson. Give you a little details here. Ben is a young guy. He's been racing since he was a junior and really put in some amazing results over the past several years. If I'm not mistaken, Ben started out on Rad Racing maybe 8 years ago or so. Road racing team, does a lot of cross now, mostly cross. And now Ben races for the Zoom Squad, which is the P12 element of the Gene Peterson Plumbing. I might be getting their title sponsor incorrect, and if I am, I apologize. All right, so this is starting to cluster back up here. This group, this has got Chris Twardzik in it, Twardzik. Let's go take a look at, let's go look at Twardzik here. Another incredibly strong guy. I don't see the boogeyman in this group, so I think he's gotten popped from this group. That's okay. No, he is still in that group. Okay, so we got 3 Seattle people, 3 incredibly strong Seattle people in this chase group here. I don't know how these guys are doing it, honestly. My heart would explode right about now. But that's why I'm sitting here drinking a beer and talking. And these guys are actually out there racing. Let's get back on Twardzik there. Nope, that's not Twardzik. All right. Now the gap's opened up quite a bit. But again, that's because that lead group went over the crest. So now they're all together. That lead group. 3 of them together. And it's likely that's probably going to stick away. That's 2.5 minutes gap right now. You got somebody out there in no man's land, sitting there at 28 seconds ahead of this group. What's more likely is that that person in no man's land is just going to get gobbled up by this chasing group. So what we're looking at here is the second pack, the chase group. These are the folks that are going to be fighting for 4th and 5th place. Now, it's still pretty early in the race, and a lot of things can change. Now what we want to see, let's come back up here to Joe. Let's watch this group for a minute. All right, so you got somebody in that group doing almost 10 watts per kilogram on a downhill section. Kind of makes you wonder why. Now, I can tell you as a lighter rider, and I'm assuming that guy is pretty light. Let's take a look. That was TIKD. So at 9 watts per kilogram, so this guy's apparently only around 48 kilograms. If my math in my head is really correct. Hold on, let's see here. Now he's coasting. Yeah, at 9 watts per kilogram, he's registering 450 watts. So that's 50 kilograms. So he's weighing in at 110 pounds. That's pretty skinny. Not going to lie, that's incredibly skinny. That's what Will weighs in at. Okay. Now look at these heart rates. 158. Okay, that's pretty low. These guys aren't messing around up on the front. So this is a downhill section, and they keep pushing in the range of 7 or 8 watts per kilogram. Now, what I was trying to say earlier is, as a lighter weight rider, I can tell you that 7 to 8 watts per kilogram is actually kind of necessary on the downhills. The algorithms in Zwift always take weight and size into consideration, even on the downhill. So I can tell you where I might coast downhill, and I'll give an example. I did Alpe Zwift today, and on Alpe Zwift, coasting downhill on the negative 14% grades, I never went above 70 kilometers per hour. I guarantee you, if I were on the actual road and coasting down a 14% grade for 10 miles, I'd be doing 90 to 100 kilometers per hour easily. But as a lighter rider, to get those higher numbers like that, it doesn't work. You've got to put out incredible amounts of power. It's one of the ways that the Zwift algorithm really doesn't favor these lighter riders. And you can see all of these guys up front are incredibly lightweight riders. That explains why it is that on the climb they were just dominating on the front. All right, let's go back to that chase group there. Looks like it's shaking up a little bit. Hopefully not too much. Let me pick one of our Seattle riders here. Boogeyman's closest. And he's still in that chase group pack. I can tell you, before the race, I told Will to have 1 bottle full of electrolytes and 2 bottles filled with nothing but water. 3 bottles for an hour race. And I guarantee you he'll go through every single one of them. Now what's interesting here is Will's on a Cannondale in this race, which is weird because normally he uses the Zwift concept bike, the Tron bike there. Tron bike is a little bit faster, especially on flats. So I'm kind of wondering why he's using that bike. But I'm sure he's got a good reason. All right, let's go look at Evan's positioning here. How are these guys doing? A little bit further back. We got Benjamin here. He's with Evan. These guys are a little further back. So there's Benjamin in the chase group still. Evan leading the second chase group. Doesn't look like they're coming together as well, maybe. So you've got 5 guys sitting together. And it doesn't look like they're organizing very well. It looks like they're all just kind of riding. Maybe not the best way to chase down the next group if they were to organize a little bit. And you can see their powers all over the place. You got somebody doing 5 watts per kilogram. Evan's doing 3 watts. So if they could get a little bit of structure there, which is tough on Zwift, you don't get the opportunity to talk to the people next to you. You just have to do it. So if it doesn't self-organize, it doesn't work. And I see they're starting to coalesce a little bit, but I think the gradient's going to kick up just a touch here for just a second. And it goes down. Of course I got it backwards. I don't know if I ever put up Evan's card, so let me throw that up real quick. This might be a 2-beer race. All right, I've got a question here. What is the composition of the 7 cyclists up the road? Are they racing for US, Japan, or Korea? Let's take a look. So the cyclists up the road, I'm assuming this group of 7, these are these are the 3 leaders. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm assuming you're talking about this group right here. So we have Korea, we have Twardzik here, US, that's Seattle. Looks like we got at least 5 Korean flags in this, and then only a couple US flags. So again, if they can organize, they can put the hurt on us. There's 3 Japanese flags, at least 5 Korean flags, and 2 American. Now, I can absolutely tell you that Twardzik is a beast, and even though Will's just a kid, he should definitely not be discounted because he is unbelievable on this race, on these races. So we'll see what he's got. I think that one climb is really the only climb. I mean, I think there's bumps here and there, rollers and stuff, but I think that one climb is it. Now, that's enough. That's a freaking massive climb. All right, I think I still got Evan's card up here. And I've got Will in focus. Let's see. Let me see if I can find Brian. Where are we at, Brian? There we go. Let me throw up Brian's card. And not close all my windows in the process. And I'm getting grief from my brother / Will's uncle about not checking text messages and having 5-minute long responses. But I do have 2 computers and a phone and 3 different screens going simultaneously. So yeah, if you do have questions or comments while you're watching the race, submit them through our YouTube live chat. I am watching that pretty closely. And I can answer any questions we've got. If you want me to change focus onto somebody else, just let me know and I'll do that too. All right, but it looks like Brian is in the 3rd group. So we've got the lead group, Chasing Peloton, 3rd group. This field is pretty shattered right now. That first climb was absolutely brutal. Kudos to those guys that were able to keep in with that. Let's look at Ben here again for a bit. I don't think anybody wants to see that view, so we'll go ahead and maybe change that a little bit. Get the heads up view directly from POV here. So in the middle of your screen, Ben is the guy wearing the purple socks and the black kit. And this chase group has come together really, really well. So I'm really, really excited about this. We've got Twardzik, Ben, and Will all in this chase group here. And they're actually bringing that gap down to that next group pretty quickly. So there's a chance they could actually chase that that group down. They've got, I think, 27 more kilometers to go. And they've only got about a minute to close. Now, if you've never raced on Zwift, I can tell you that a minute to close on Zwift is pretty freaking impossible. It's not the same as closing a minute on the actual road. If this were the actual road and they only had a minute gap with 26 more kilometers to go, that gap would be eaten up fast. On Zwift, different story. Interestingly enough, if you watch, what's his name? Alex Dowsett's YouTube channel. He's done some Zwift racing. He's got some comments on it as well. I think it's Alex Dowsett. He's got a YouTube channel called The Thighs Club, which is a very interesting watch. If you get a chance, go check it out and subscribe to that. He's got some interesting commentary on the YouTube races, or on the Zwift races. And he actually entered into some of these A races and just got his butt handed to him right off the bat. And it's just because it's totally different. You'll notice these guys are never freewheeling. They're always pedaling. They're always doing 4, 5, 6, 7 watts per kilogram all the time. Not even like a time trial. In a time trial, you settle into a pace and you just go that pace. You set your heart rate and you go. This is not like that. This is 4 watts per kilogram, 7 watts per kilogram, 8 watts per kilogram, 3 watts per kilogram. And by the way, if you're doing 3 watts per kilogram, you're probably off the back. So this is absolutely brutal. And if a 1 second gap opens up in front of you between you and the next person, you're done. That gap is almost impossible to close. And if you are closing it, you're doing a massive sprint. You're doing 15, 20 watts per kilogram to close a gap like that. And then, of course, you still have to, when you get done, sustain 4 to 5 watts per kilogram for the rest of the race. I don't know a whole lot of people that do 15 watts per kilogram and then just magically stay at that pace again. All right, now this is going to be a brutal climb. It's a 1 minute climb. 1 minute-ish, depends on how fast you're going. We got some people doing 10 watts per kilogram on this climb. I can tell you a fast-paced group up this climb will be doing 7 to 8 watts per kilogram. That'll be a fast group. So that was an aggressive attack. This guy's doing 8 to 10 watts per kilogram. And that pack is spreading. And it looks like we might be gapping some folks on our team here. I think it's no secret. I'm cheering for the boogeyman here. Let's get you up there, dude. Time to close that gap. Don't get stuck behind the wrong wheel. And that's a problem. If you get stuck behind the wrong wheel, and this guy is definitely the wrong wheel. Look at that. He's opened up a gap. It's really hard to close. Okay, so all of our teammates are still in there. Look at that. You can see that gap opening up. You can see the line stretching out. And the only thing that has to happen is somebody's got to go hard. Now here's where the real problem comes on this climb. And the boogeyman's last in line, so let's come on, get up there, Will. Get up there. The problem is, come on, get up there. You can do it. Huge attack right here. As soon as you go over this hill, it just stretches out. And if you're a lightweight guy off the back, like unfortunately Will is right now, you're going to have to do massive amounts of power to stay with that group. And I can see there's already gaps opening up. So let's move up here to Ben. You can see there's a gap there, 30 meters. It's opening up fast. You can see that the gap down here at the bottom. Back to Will. So this is where that gap's going to open up. Now, you can close it down. You can close this one down. As you're coming down this hill into this flat section, the pace tends to slow down just a little bit. So you can see these guys up here are only doing 2 to 3 watts per kilogram now. 3.5. If these guys towards the back that have a little bit of a gap can start to put out a little bit more power, the boogeyman's going to have to do more than that. They can close that gap down. I've been there in this race. So I've got a question from Joel Lentz. How many U.S. guys in the back half of the race? I think we've got about 4 or 5 guys in the back half of the race. So we've got Joe up front. We've got Twardzik and Ben up here. Will just got gapped a little bit. So we've got 4. And I think we have a total of 9 guys in the pack. So maybe 4 or 5. And I think that we lost one of them, I think, to a digital mechanical. All right, so let's hope. Let's hope that the boogeyman can get back in. But that's a pretty big gap to close now. So I think what's going to happen is, with a 32-second gap that's opening up, and you can see his power's drifting off there, he's going to wind up eventually just needing to get in with this group here. 22 kilometers by yourself is not a thing you want to try to do at full power. So I think he's going to be smart to just stay here at a lower power and then just get eaten up by this next group. I think that'd be the smart thing to do. So I hope I see his power start to go down, because he's not closing a 40-second gap on his own. And this is where it's really important on these races where you've got a hill climb. You have to be able to save enough that you can go over the top and actually put out more power over the top, which is arguably something you might do on the regular road, but not something you would normally do. All right, so we got Ben and Twardzik racing for 2nd and 3rd, or for 3rd and 4th right now. Sorry, 4th and 5th. I'll learn how to count one day. But notice that gap is closed down to 46 seconds now, so we'll see what happens with that. All right, let's go back to our chase groups. This is chase group number 1. We've got Will out there in no man's land. We've got a small chase group behind him. And they're 2 minutes behind him. Very small chase group. And unfortunately, no one, well, no, Brian. Brian's an ally in that group. And then past that, you got Josh in the next chase group behind that. And that's all we got left. All right, remember, if you've got social media, share this on your pages. Just share this link on your page. We want to get more people watching this race. Who knows, you might inspire somebody to get off their Peloton and get on a real bike. Let's get back up there to Brian again. Pull up his... Oop. No, I don't want that. Okay, so these guys are about to go up that same hill, I believe. If I put myself in at the right place, let me zoom out here. Oh, zoom out, not zoom in. I guess I'm as zoomed out as I'm going to be. Yeah, they're about to go up that hill, so they're jockeying for position. This is just like a regular road race. If you're about to hit a hill, you're going to try to jockey for position. You want to be able to sag climb it if you can. So you want to start at the front. And especially since, Brian is a little on the bigger side. He's tall and he's got a little bit of weight that he's carrying there. My guess is, I don't know Brian, but my guess is that he's probably sprint oriented. Evan is a great puncher, so he can do sprints and he can do pretty good on the shorter climbs. Actually, he can do really well on the shorter climbs. So this climb actually suits Evan pretty well. If he can stay towards the front, he should be able to just carry that over and really put some hurt on the guys coming down the backside of this hill. I can tell you, Evan's got to work on his avatar game. That's not what he looks like at all, but I'll give him credit. They don't give you too many choices in here, so maybe that was the closest he could get. Yep, and another comment that just came in is that if Brian could climb Snake Alley, that he must be a beast of a climber. That is true. Snake Alley, I love that climb on Snake Alley crit. That's one of the crits that Will and I both hope to try to make it out to this year, but unfortunately got interrupted. That is a beast of a climb, but it's the good thing about it, it's a climb that, well, I don't know if it's good. It's bad for us. Will and I are both very small climbing guys. Is that... given the short nature of that climb, the guys that can sprint over and over and over again can probably do pretty well up that climb. They can do 15 watts per kilogram up that climb, whereas me as a climber, I'll be doing, on a short climb like that, only 10 watts per kilogram up at that climb. So oftentimes the powerful sprinter guys can do pretty well. But you can see on this type of thing where this race had the very long, drawn-out climb, typically the lightweight guys that have the high power can do pretty well. So back on the boogeyman here. I really wish he would lower that power. I'm hoping he will. At this point, it's you know you're caught. You know you're gonna have to drift off, and unless you really just feel like you can chase, and I can see now Ben's been gapped as well. If you know you're just going to get eaten up by the chase group, then it's probably better to sit up a little bit. Maybe do 2.5 to 3 watts per kilogram for a little while instead of 4.6, or in case of Ben, we were doing 5.8 there for a moment. You're not going to be able to bring that kind of gap back on this race. and you will get eaten up by the people that are less than a minute behind you. So it probably is smart to sit up, conserve your energy, do like his avatar is doing and drink a bottle of water real quick. Don't waste it, because you're going to need it when it comes down to the sprint. It's easy to say this while I'm sitting here on my couch enjoying a beer, although my beer's empty. Maybe I need to go to refill. But when you're in the race, the only thing going through your mind is, I've got to get up there. I have to be up there. I have to get up there. I have to go. They do have some people talking on the radio. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the Discord link to work, so I can't hear their race strategy. I do have some headphones on that I'm trying to listen to, but I realized that I'm not listening to anything, so I may as well take them off. All right, let's move up to the front of the race here again. Let's see who we got left. We got Twardzik up in the lead group here, and really just doing a great job. Where did I lose him? There we go. This guy's insane with power. I mean, he's just unbelievable. Let's get the wide angle helicopter shot. All right, we're going to take this intermission and get some more fizzies. All right, tonight drinking some Rogue Honey Kolsch, because you might find Kolsch beers in this region. Actually, that's just because that's what I want to drink. It has nothing to do with regionality. I'm the only Northwesterner that doesn't like IPAs. Got a question here. What is Will's max heart rate? Well, that's a great question. I have personally seen his max heart rate at 235 beats per minute. But his resting heart rate is actually incredibly low. Let's take a look at back down to the boogeyman now. He's kind of in a resting state right now. But he's at 202 in a rest state. But in all fairness, 202 in a rest state after having gone through some crazy racing to get up to this point. So I'm sure what we'll see is that'll begin to drop just a little bit as he kind of settles in. And I think what he's doing now is he's being smart. So let's watch this real quick as he gets gobbled up by the next chase group. Evans on the front, doing a pretty good power. And so what he's going to want to do is, as the chase group gets within 3 to 4 seconds, he's going to want to up his power. Probably get out of the saddle, maybe kick it up to 6-7 watts per kilogram if these guys are doing 5. And this is it's a little bit of a climb. It's nothing big. Although I say that, they might be going up the climb in reverse. And if that's the case, that's brutal. I do not know this course. So if they're going back up the climb the reverse way, God help them. I feel for those guys. All right, so at this point, he's going to want to start putting out the power. Yep, there he goes. He's ramping it up. That's good. Yep, okay, so he's getting swallowed up by the pack. As long as he doesn't just get spit right out the back of that, we'll be fine. Because in this group, we have 3 really strong riders. Eric says he doesn't like IPA either, my brother, and I appreciate that. Cheers to you. I think I found the second person in the Northwest that doesn't like IPAs. I joke with my girlfriend all the time that they taste like earwax and flowers to me. And she's sitting here drinking some earwax and flowers right next to me right now. All right, good. So this, like I said, I don't know if this goes back up that entire climb, but if it does, which it looks like it's about to, I don't know that there's any turnoffs on this road, then that's just going to be brutal. All right, let's get back over to Brian. One more plug here, if you guys are watching this, or ladies are watching this video live, share the link. Share the link on your social media, Twitter, Facebook, MySpace. I mean, if you want me to be one of your top 5 friends, I'll be happy to be one of your top 5 friends. You may have to boot Tom out to get me there, but share the link, because we've got 16 people watching right now. That's not very many, but that's like a normal bike race in the Northwest. You got 16 people, all of whom are spouses or people that are about to race. But let's get more than 16. Let's share this video. Put it on your Facebook page. Let's see what happens. All right, the idea of just sitting there and holding 400 watts up a climb kind of makes me want to puke a little bit. Now, Brian's a little heavier than I am, so that's 5 to 5.5 watts per kilogram. That's pretty reasonable, I suppose. But this is a long climb. If they're doing the whole thing, and again, I don't know this course, but it doesn't look like there's any place to break off of this, to go anywhere else, and that's just going to be tough. Now, unfortunately, it looks like Will might be getting gapped on this. I'm hoping that he realizes he can jump back up and grab that wheel, and he needs to. But I can tell you, one of the challenges of being a 100-pound, 15-year-old kid is you have no reserves. That's glycogen or fat reserves. You got nothing. So once you hit that wall, if you haven't been chugging the sugar and chugging the electrolytes, if you hit it, you hit it. And I'm hoping that I'm hoping that's not what we're seeing right now. So let's move back to Brian here. Oh, there we go. Hoping the boogeyman stays attached. Okay. So also looking back, it looks like that the previous chase group. Nope, I think these are people that have been gapped from this first chase group. I think these are folks that have fallen off the back, and it looks like the boogeyman is getting gapped from this group. So this climb is tough. This is really, really tough. All right, let's get back up to the front of the race. Let's see how Joe's doing. All right, looks like they've still got that one guy that's pretty aggressive. Let's get Joe's card back up here. And it looks like Joe's not going to respond to that. Again, two people are always going to beat one. And Watanabe has demonstrated time and time again so far in this race that he's willing to chase his own teammate down. Not sure what the logic is there, but maybe he's got a good excuse. All right, so they're going to crest up this hill anytime now. And I think that if Joe's smart, he's probably going to want to get himself positioned in such a way that he can carry his power over the hill and just instantly close that gap. But that gap is opening up. The question on the YouTube channel is for us Luddites who don't Zwift. And I will say that question is coming from my brother, who also doesn't Strava. So I don't know how you've actually survived this long without either of those things. But is there a course profile that can be seen? And yes, there is. If you want, you can actually go to Zwift Insider. Or actually, probably the best thing to do is to Google the name of the course, which is Octobahn, and type Octobahn and then Zwift Insider into Google, and it'll take you to the Zwift profile page for the Octobahn. And once you do that, you'll see all of the data for the client or for the course. Now, for those of you, yes, it is Yi. So Yi Feng says the course is brutality. Yeah, it really is. I'm glad that I did not do this. I did the Alp to Zwift earlier today, and I can tell you, I think this is probably harder. I mean, this course in general is probably harder. It's just unrelenting on these climbs. The nice thing is it's a little bit varied, so you can change gears a little bit and have something a little bit more interesting than the Alp to Zwift, where you just pretty much stay in the same gear the whole time. Yeah, so essentially, and if you haven't done Zwift before, which probably, my guess is most of you probably have, but Vince on the YouTube channel has not. If you don't understand the basic concepts of Zwift, essentially you have a controllable trainer, and the trainer sends and receives signals to the computer. And what you're seeing is, as these guys are going up a 3% hill, the trainers themselves simulate the 3% hill. And that can be fun, but it can also be absolutely brutal. It is it's incredibly tough. Especially on these longer climbs like this. It wears on your body. It wears on your heart, your legs, your knees, all of it. When some of these are hitting, 14%, 15% climbs, and the trainer's resistance is maxing out, but you have to keep the legs spinning. I mean, it's kind of like the road, but I will say honestly that the road is easier. So what Joe's doing right now, doing 330 watts, doing 330 watts on the road is noticeably easier than doing it on a controllable trainer. All right, let's take a look here and see. So it looks like Joe's gotten gapped here. These guys, the Japanese guys are doing pretty solid there. Let's take a look back in the pack here in the chase group. See if we can find, there's Twardzik. Chris is still doing great. I expect absolutely nothing less. Chris is an absolute beast. I raced against Chris one time on Zwift. There were a lot of cuss words involved. And probably a few packs of ice and some ace bandages afterwards. And many, many beers to try to forget that I raced against him, because he's really that strong. All right, so these guys are coming to the finish here pretty soon. Finish line is 37K. Sorry, no, it's not. I'm incorrect. I believe this is a 47K race. Let's get some more stable camera angles here. So Twardzik is in the white helmet. No, I'm sorry. Twardzik is in the black or gray helmet, purple wheels. You can see, or blue wheels. You can see his name pop up every once in a while. You know what? That's not a helmet. That is gray hair. And I refuse to believe that he has gray hair. Though I could be wrong. I've only ever raced with him, against him, in Zwift races, because he is a bit out of my league as far as on regular road races. So yeah, looking at this, looking at these speeds of 90-some kilometers per hour, they're doing that in a pack. And yeah, that would probably be relatively realistic if you were doing that in a real race, in a pack down a -7%, -8% with pitches of -10 to 14%. It would be totally realistic. But if you ever do that alone on Zwift, or even if just one or two people, you'll find you'll never get those speeds. You have to be in a small pack to do that. Whereas on the regular road, if you were doing -14%, putting out 300 watts, yeah, you'd be doing 100K per hour, no problem. Oh, so Ian mentions that it is a blondish gray in real life. I'll be darned. Now the next question is why is Ian chatting here on YouTube when he probably should be racing this, since he's also one of the strongest racers in the Pacific Northwest? We'll forgive him for missing out on tonight. Did get to see Ian race at Valley of the Sun. Audi had a really good presence there and did a really good job. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Ian, did you come in second place on the road race there with a really close finish? That was that's a brutal road race. It's a blast, but it's absolutely brutal. Yeah, we'll leave that. All right, let's move up here and take a look at some of the folks back in the pack again. Well, I'll tell you what, let's move up to Joe. So Joe's out here in no man's land. Unfortunately, he did get dropped by the two Japanese riders. Let's take a look at these guys again. I'm not saying there should be a weigh-in, but maybe there should be a weigh-in. I'm just saying. Because if the guys are really weighing in at 50 kilograms, that's impressively light. And I still got Twardzik's card up here. Let me get us back to the open. All right, Twardzik still in that first chase group there. Looks like Ben is in no man's land, but he's about to get eaten up by chase group number 2. looking at the comments, it looks like Ian actually got second in GC, which is pretty freaking epic on that race. That's a tough race. If you haven't ever done Valley of the Sun, you should check it out. It's a beautiful race. It's well put together, well organized, and every lap on the road race actually goes up this. I think it's a climb that's kind of suits everybody pretty well. It's never too terribly steep, but it is kind of long. And I know in the Cat 3 races we did it, I think 6 times. We did 78 miles overall. And that climb suited me really well, but unfortunately our field got split and I was on the back half of the split. It got split because they let the juniors who were overtaking us into our field, in the middle of our field, and then they literally crashed the moment they got in the middle of our field. So anybody that was behind it was just off, and anybody that was in front of it got to go ahead. Unfortunately, that was just a bad call on the ref's part. But that's a great race, and it's well organized. And the crit, it's just, that crit course is probably one of my favorite crit courses of all time. Even the juniors averaged, I know Will's average speed on that crit course was 27.6 miles an hour on restricted gearing. We did 27.9, and I was spun out most of the time in a 52.11. And it was constantly moving. It never slowed down. All right, so Ben's putting out some pretty decent power here. Overall, Ben is a kind of a smaller rider in general, but is, you just look at him and you see the muscles on him. He's a strong guy. All right, in this chase group behind him, Evan's still doing well in there. Doing Audi proud. We got Brian still in that as well. And not too far back in the next chase group, we got 2 people working together. We got Will, the boogeyman, working with a fellow rider from Korea. And with any luck, we'll see him sprint it out for the line against him. I can tell you that Will's sprint is just shy of 20 watts per kilogram right now. And that's consistently just shy of 20 watts per kilogram. Yep, Ian's commenting that Brian is an Audi rider too. So we've got a couple Audi riders here. We've got some pretty good team representation. Some of the strongest teams in the Northwest. We got 2 Audi. We've got Joe on Tête de la Course. We've got Ben on the Zoom squad, which is a new squad actually. I think it's entering its 2nd year. Change of title sponsor. We have Apex, which always has big numbers and good guys on it. And then of course 2 Hagen's Berman as well. And I'm a Hagen's rider myself, and we're doing a lot to increase the ridership on that team. And we've got some really strong guys. Josh Sollitto is new to our team and is doing well. We've got a lot of a young blood in the team as well. It's encouraging. And somehow my avatar is 77 minutes behind. That sounds like it would actually be in a regular road race. I think the first 2 seasons of my racing career, if you want to call it that, that's where I learned how to time trial, because I spent so much time off the back just riding by myself. All right, let's see what speeds these guys get to. 88K. 88K is about 55 miles an hour. I have watched Will do 52 miles an hour, and as the parent of at that time, 14-year-old child doing 55 miles an hour on 1-inch tires, on 25 millimeter tires, in a pack full of dudes that are 3 times his weight, as the light guys are 3 times his weight, that'll make you That'll turn you into a religious person fast. All right, let's move up the pack here a little bit again. Now let's take a look, see how Josh is doing. So Josh is out there with another rider as well, also from Korea. So we've got a couple little mini chase groups going on. And again, these guys are going to do a lot better if they work together. I do know Josh's sprint is excellent. He's kind of a midweight guy on the lighter side of midweight, but is just stacked with muscles. So he's really good at sprinting. Let's see. Let's go back up into this chase group here. Remember, this is chase group number 1. So we still got Twardzik in this group. Where'd he go? So it looks like Ben was able to chase back on. He was gapped by quite a bit. And no, I'm sorry, I'm reading that wrong. Oh, he'd still got gapped. But we've got Joe kind of out in no man's land. We've got somebody closing in on him fast. Hopefully he can hold that away. He's really close to the end. He should be able to hold that out for 3rd place. Let's watch that finish. So the question is, the 2 riders from Japan up the road there, you think they're going to sprint against each other for the win? Or do you think they're going to organize and let one of them win and the other one coast in number 2? And I'll never know. Looks like they are done. Here comes Joe in for the finale. He's still got an 11-second lead over the number 4 rider. $10. So that gap is going down. I think he's going to do okay. Actually, I think he's done. I didn't see the finish banner there because the camera came out, but I think he is done. So let's move back in the pack here. So we've got in the 2nd chase group here. That 2nd chase group got shattered pretty good. And they are done. Let's take a look. I'm going to have to go back to me and then back up here. Okay. Ben is next in. Yeah, let me take a look in that chase group. Attacks are happening there. So Ben is the next one across. He's got a 24-second gap, and he is definitely going to keep that. I think this rider knows he's probably relatively safe. And here we go. Here come the attacks in the chase group. So let's look at Brian's screen. These gaps got, they started to get spread out pretty good. Alright, I'm going to go to a close-up shot so I can actually see the finish line. So Brian's going to be racing for potentially 14th place. If I look down here on the right, I see that there's some pretty good amount of power being generated right now by the Boogeyman. So I'm wondering if they're starting to get aggressive with each other. Now I do know the Boogeyman has a good long sprint, so he can actually do a 400 or 500 meter sprint and hold 15 plus watts per kilogram in a 400 meter sprint, 500 meter sprint. So if he's smart, he'll go long for his sprints. The other thing he can do is he can hold close to 6 watts per kilogram for an extended period of time. So maybe he should go from 1 to 2K and maybe overtake that other guy. Okay, we got some attacks happening. Brian's getting smart. He's gonna stay on their wheel. He's gonna hold it for as long as he can. Evan's not too far back. He's only 12 seconds off this group. These guys might be going a touch early. All right, there we go. See if that guy in the front can hold it. Yep, he did. All right, Evan's moving. Wow, Evan's going early. All right, let's watch our next guy on the road. Okay, so the next folks on the road here they've got a little ways to go, about 2K left, and it looks like they may be toying around with each other a little bit to see who's going to work harder. They've got plenty of gap between them and the team behind them, but I'm noticing that like this team right here, Josh, they're putting out a pretty decent amount of power. Oh, it's because they're going up that climb. Looks like Josh is getting gapped there, unfortunately. Let's look back here. So good news is Boogeyman's got plenty, I keep calling him that, Will has plenty of heart rate left in reserve, which means that right now, even though he's doing 4 watts per kilogram, he's got energy. He's not at his fatigue point. And the other guy's doing a lot of work for him, so the racer from Korea is pulling Will along. And Will's being smart. He's just sitting on his wheel. He's just going to sit there. There's no reason that Will needs to work for this guy. They're holding off the chase group just fine. Let me get to a better camera angle here. All right, now they're definitely playing around. A little bit of cat and mouse here. A lot of cat and mouse. All right, let's watch this sprint. This should be good. With any luck, Will's got enough juice left in his legs to actually do a sprint. We'll see. I will say after an hour and 20 minutes on this type of road race, that could be really, really tough to do a sprint. What people don't take into consideration is, you know, after an hour and 20-minute crit, there's plenty of juice left to do a sprint. But this, there's no freewheeling, there's no stopping, there's no coasting, there's no nothing. You're always doing high amounts of power. And unless you've actually tried to do a sprint after 80 minutes of just leg shredding racing. There we go. 14.5 watts per kilogram. I can live with that. There we go. He's got it. The other guy doesn't even stand a chance. Don't fade. Don't fade early. Don't fade. You got this. Nice job. All right, now let's look at Josh. Oh, I gotta go back to me. And then back to Josh. Now the real question is it a three beer night or just a 2 beer night? I'm getting indications that it might be a 3 beer night. So I just want to share with everybody just how incredibly hard this is. This is not like regular road racing. This is way more brutal than regular road racing. Do the lessons you learn here and does the strength you build here apply to road racing? I think that's tough to say. I think what we're going to find out is maybe once everybody returns to doing some... oh, here we go. Hey, Josh, go for it. Go, 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 dude. All right, Josh has got a sprint on him. That's for dang sure. Come on, dude. Come on. You got this. Oh, crap. Maybe went a little too early. Yeah, so this is just absolutely brutal. This is just leg shredding the whole time. Even a 30-minute crit is just painful. But an hour and 24-minute road race at that kind of power, again, never freewheeling. It's just absolutely brutal. So I'm getting encouragement from Dale and Matt to make it a 3 beer night, and I'm hearing 5 IPAs. I think my girlfriend heartily agrees with 5 IPAs, but I think I can go for 3 myself. So cheers everybody for watching. If you didn't have a brew in your hand, or at least something to make the night enjoyable, well, then I feel sorry for you. But at least you got to watch some good racing. Have a great time. Stay safe. Keep doing this kind of stuff until we can get back out on the road and race for real. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what this kind of stuff does to our actual race legs. All right, guys and gals. That was a blast. See you again soon.